Right, another update. We're getting a bit further, I think. I can just see more money going down. More money going on this thing. It better be nice when it's done. That's all I can say. After Googling a few things and stuff, I realised I did make a bit of a daft mistake. It's not fixed it, but I had the vacuum pipes the wrong way around. I don't know how I've done that because I watched a video on how to connect them. I've took pictures of when I took them off. I can only think that they were on wrong before. They could well have been. It's made it a little bit better. I'm yet to sort of set the timing. I've kind of played about with the timing a bit. I've yet to be able to set it because it just doesn't, I don't want to run it the way it's smoking. I think it's seriously over fueling. And I'm scared I'm just going to put more fuel in the oil again and cause more problems. I did have a look at the sort of adjuster for the mixture. I loosened the meter head to get the mixture screw top off, and the bit underneath, I think it's seized. But I think rather than just get into that, I don't see as it's not been adjusted wrong for that. It can't have been adjusted that far wrong. I think I can probably take that cross bracket off if I sort of put some grips on the center plate, or when the metering head's off, I can sort of hold it in place and free it off, which is what I'm going to try and do. The end of the sort of adjuster bit, the hexagon bit on the end of it, it's a bit rounded right at the end, but I think it goes in further than that. I've got to sort of yet to sort of to see that. I think I'm getting to the point where I just want to fix it, and I think I'm going to end up doing a lot of the injection stuff anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is get a set of injectors. It could well be that one or two of the injectors, or all the injectors, they're not giving out unless you put the ignition on. They're not bleeding, dripping all the time. But as soon as you put the ignition on and the pump's going, it basically is just chucking fuel down. I've got the pump on a sort of isolated switch. So if I sort of flick the switch for a second, get it started, and then it's fine. As long as you keep the revs above 1,000, it smokes, but you can tell it's rich because it's smoking fuely. It's hard to tell though because the exhaust has been full of fuel and oil when it went before. But I'm thinking when I went to buy it and it was running, it was smoking like that as well. So possibly whatever's causing it to smoke wasn't necessarily the head gasket, it was the fact it was running really rich, which might have knackered it in the first place. I don't know. Obviously I don't want to run it long like that. But when it's running, if it's about to die, it sort of runs for a minute or so, and then it just starts to gradually die, and then it cuts out. If I flick the fuel pump off, the revs go up to sort of 2,000, and if I flick it back on again, it'll bounce up and down. So the fact that when I switch the fuel pump off, the revs climb, makes me think it can't be too weak. Must be too rich, because when the fuel pump's off, there's less fuel pressure, so less for that to do. For the governor sort of thing. Well, what do they call it? I can't remember the name. What they call it now, distribution bit or whatever. But there's less for that to do. So if there's something knackered in that, it would, it's got less pressure to deal with. And same if there's knackered injectors. If an injector's sort of too soft or whatever, or it's partially open a bit, there's less problem with that happening if there's lower pressure. There's going to be less fuel there. It's weird because you turn the fuel pump off and it revs up to sort of 2,000, which is how you'd probably imagine it to do when it's really cold. But I have adjusted the idle up, so it could be that, so I'm pretty sure it's a fuel pressure issue, not an electrical issue, because I think if I could make it run like it does when the fuel pump's switched off on 2,000, I could lower the RPMs down, set the timing, and I think we might nearly be there. So it could be a pressure regulator in it and whatever, but I don't know. I don't want to run it too long. I don't want to be buying one bit and then another bit. I think battery's going on my phone. iPhones are crap, aren't they? They don't last very long, especially when you're Googling stuff all day. I think I'm going to get one of these rebuild kits for the distribution bit, because the chances of that being right, I would think, is pretty slim, really. Think it, you know, it's been stood for 14 years. It doesn't look like it's been rebuilt. Looking at it, you can see the state of it. So I think that's a good thing to do. And I also think the injectors, like I said, I had that one out and that one out, and they sort of sprayed when you put the ignition on, the pump was on, and when you press that sort of plate down, they sprayed more. But I don't think that's the issue. I mean, I don't know what this sort of warm-up regulator sort of affair. I might have a bit more of a play with that. One thing I haven't done is take the cold start off and just make sure that's not stuck open. Because I suppose if that was stuck open, it would throwing fuel down all the time. So when it was on tick over, it possibly would be too rich. I don't know. I think I need to check that just to eliminate the smaller sort of fixes. I need to check that. I'm not sure how to check that. And I think that more makes a difference when the temperature's high. I think when the engine's hot, it richens it up, I think. And it's got like a bimetallic strip and whatever in. So I don't think that comes into play much when the engine's actually cold. I know this is working, and I know that one's working. Well, like I say, you put power to it and it clicks back. Obviously there's wiring to it. I don't quite know what controls that, but since I've cleaned that out, it's a lot better than it was, because it's getting more air. I'm pretty sure there's no air leaks. These manifold bits, I did inspect them. They're not prettiest, but there's no real holes or cracks or anything in them as far as I can see. And yeah, I mean, I've got to do the timing, but the timing's not far off the marks that I left on it. It does start a little bit like the timing's a bit more advanced than it should be, but that's not going to make it, that's just going to make it miss a bit and maybe rev higher, but it's not going to make it not tick over. So yeah, I've watched a guy on YouTube do a rebuild on that. It doesn't look too difficult. I don't think I'll have a problem with that, hopefully. And I think with that off, I can have a look at the mixture screw and make sure that's nice and free as well. Because it doesn't seem to do anything. But I suppose if it's really, really rich, if that's knackered or the injectors are knackered, that screwing business, it's not going to make a vast amount of difference. It could be the pressure regulator, which is, I think, is down there. There's also the thing called the D-cell valve, which I don't quite know what that does, to be honest. I might have to, I don't know how you check that as well. There's quite a few things to check, I think. Well, I think I'm going to have to start replacing bits. Then I know sort of where I am, you know. I know where I am, sort of done-wise, how I'm getting on. So if anybody's got any more ideas for things for me to try that don't cost loads of money, that'd be helpful, but I think I'm going to have to throw some money at it. I think for peace of mind, the distributor, may as well rebuild that, may as well put injectors in it, because I'm probably going to end up doing that at some point. And then if I find there's something else going on, at least I've eliminated them. The warm-up regulator, I don't see, I think that would make it run rich, but only when it's hotter, and it does it when it's cold. When it's cold, completely cold, it starts up and it'll tick over for about 1200 revs, and then it like dips down to about 1000, hovers around 1000 for a bit, and then it just kind of, it's like it's flooding itself. And by the amount of smoke that's coming out of it, I'm pretty sure it's running too rich. And the fact that if you try and start it, if I just switch the electric pump on very swiftly and then start it and then put the pump back on, it starts. If I leave the pump on and try and start it, it'll have none of it. It'll flood it. You know, you can tell it's flooding it. So it's certainly chucking too much fuel down. So I could do some other fixes and not do that, but if that's not quite, I've been told if that's not quite right, I think I need to do that, do the injectors, then get a pressure tester on it and then see what it does then. I have got one. I think I did watch a video. There's a very good guy who's got a 911 engine that he sort of shows you what everything does and what pressure should be at certain points and whatever. It's quite difficult to find information about these, like finding out where the vacuum pipe's going. People will tell you various different things, and a lot of the stuff I see is American stuff, which is slightly different. It's got different pipes and whatever on it. But yeah, it sounds nice. I mean, when it revs up, it sounds, higher up the revs, obviously it can burn the fuel. Higher up the revs, it sounds pretty meaty, pretty even. Maybe a little bit uneven, but, that's possibly down to the injections, or it's probably still rich higher up. But yeah, it's sounding okay. Water and oil look okay. I think the oil level has gone up a bit. I'm pretty sure the oil level's going up a little bit every time I run it. Not every time I run it, but it has gone up from when I sort of changed the oil last time. So I don't want to run it much. I think what I'm going to do is order those bits, put it under a cover for a bit and just leave it alone for a little bit, and then have a good go at it, put a load of new bits on it, and then see where we are then. But it's getting better. I was going to go up the road in it, but it just doesn't, when you put it in gear, it just not happy. It's not ticking over enough to sort of want to play ball. I have finished topping up the gearbox oil. I've got that to the point now where it's between the minimum and maximum when you've ran it and whatever. I can't sort of check it when it's running, which I think you should do, because I can't have it running long enough. But yeah, failing that, we're just working my way through it. Somebody else messaged me today and on a message and said, oh yeah, I've got my engine out, I'm probably going to be going down the same road. And I think, to be fair, you've got to expect it, haven't you, really? It's been stood 14 years, it's an old car, most of the injection stuff, I think when it's working, it's quite a decent system. So if I replace the distributor, get that rebuild that, put the injectors in, if I have to have the warm-up regulator rebuilt or checked. But I think once I've got it running and ticking over and stuff, I can check whether that's working properly. I think you struggle to check that. I think the guy I watched on the video, he was checking that when it was warmed up. He wasn't checking it when it was cold, because it sort of works when the engine's hotter. So that may not be working properly, but I don't think that's coming into play at the moment. But yeah, he did say as well that if you've got one that's missing, you can crack off these one by one, or miss one by one, and the one that doesn't make a difference, if it makes a difference, that cylinder's doing something. If it doesn't make much difference, that cylinder's not doing as much, which is sort of like pulling the plug leads off on a petrol car, which kind of was cutting it. So it was just cracking these off one by one, and then the one that didn't make a difference, he knew that one was doing the less out of the one that made the less difference. It's sort of what you do with plugs into, like plug leads on a petrol. So yeah, it's I'd say, I keep saying we're getting there. We're not getting there, but we're working our way through it. There'll be people out there who probably do these all the time. I'll probably say, oh God, you need to replace that and that. But I've not got a vast pot of, well, I've got a fair bit of money put aside to sort of finish it off. But I want to spend it wisely. I'd like a nice baller stainless exhaust, so I don't want to waste money that I don't have to. And I'm quite happy pottering along with it, replacing bits as I go along. Like you say, I do this with the air-cooled stuff I work on. You sometimes find you try and replace one bit, and you may as well just replace everything, pretty much, within reason. So yeah, but I think at the weekend I'll come and I'll check the cold start. But I think I'll probably buy that kit and probably buy the injectors. And if it is, yeah, I think I might wait till Sunday, because if it is this cold start, I don't want to bought a 320 odd pound set of injectors and disturb that metering head. So I think I'll check the cold start. I don't think there's anything else I can check. I've checked everything else. It's certainly not electrical, it's definitely fuel. So if the cold start's okay and that's working, then I think we're possibly down to, like I say, that and the injectors. I did put some Loctite on these, these sleeves. So I might even try just pulling the injectors out, put some WD and pulling them out, because they're tight in the new rubbers. They're not horrendously tight, so it may be that I can pull them out without having to undo them sleeves. But I'll get them out eventually. But maybe just have a bit of a break for a bit until the parts come, and you know, then have a good run back at it.